Dr. Russell Blaylock is our guest. You can find out a lot more information at his websites. We'll give you those several times before he leaves us. But while you were talking, Doctor, you were trying to finish up a story about the reports you're getting. But, I mean, I have family friends. My dad has scores of patients that he knows that have gone to the hospital. Many of them have recovered, thank God. And the doctors are even telling them, and I've seen this a few places in the news, but it's not a big news story like you were saying, that, yes, you have Guillain-Barré, and we believe the vaccine caused it. In fact, talking to Dale Dudley, who has the #1 talk show in the morning on 93.7, it's the sister station to 590, our local affiliate, the AM. I mean, he has numb fingers and numb toes, and he went to the doctor, and they said the vaccine did this to you, but that was the seasonal shot he took. Go ahead.
Right. You know, I got an email from a man who said he felt so bad because he had encouraged his father to get the H1N1 vaccine, and he got it, and his father ended up with a severe case of Guillain-Barré, ended up on a respirator for 3 months, and had just gotten out of the hospital, and he's still severely weak. While they were in the hospital, they saw a 10-year-old child who ended up with Guillain-Barré, ended up on a respirator for over a month, and is still on the respirator. I've gotten over a list of 200 women who've lost their babies because they believed the government hype that women needed to get the H1N1 vaccine during pregnancy, and I warned people of that, that you would have a tremendous number of spontaneous abortions. And the big risk, the really big thing, is it's shown that if you overstimulate immunity during mid-pregnancy, you increase the incidence of schizophrenia and autism as much as tenfold. So we still have to wait and see what is going to be the full impact of this, because it's going to take a good 10 years before we know just how many people's babies have been ruined by this vaccine.
This isn't like that tranquilizer in the 40s and 50s where they came out deformed and you saw it right away. But again, you're a medical doctor and brain surgeon, but let's talk about why this does that to the brain. But I remember just reading in the inserts of vaccines, period, they had always said don't give them to pregnant women, and now, sickeningly, they were on the news saying pregnant women particularly need this. I mean, this is diabolical.
Well, they were doing that. At the time, there was convincing evidence from our research in neuroscience that if you stimulate the immune system of a pregnant woman midterm, in mid-pregnancy, you produce this high incidence of autism and schizophrenia. Well, I don't think I would trade having my child have autism or schizophrenia for this false idea that it was going to protect them during pregnancy, because there's no evidence the vaccine had any protection whatsoever of anybody.
But what about the autoimmune response? What about the autoimmune response? From the medical stuff I read, correct me if I'm wrong, the miscarriages, though, throughout the pregnancy, the body gets overstimulated and then sees the fetus as an outsider.
Yeah, that's part of it. It interferes during the baby's development with the placenta, so that the oxygen and blood supply to the baby is damaged, and you have a spontaneous abortion. And this was occurring in women who were almost near term. So here they were almost ready to have their baby, and they lost it. Well, if you look at the scientific literature, you're not surprised by that. But the media played a big role in getting these women to go take this ridiculous vaccine. As I say, that there's just compelling research that if you vaccinate with these powerful vaccines, because they contain aluminum or mercury, it produces abnormal development of the brain and produces long-term changes in the brain that makes that child at high risk of neurodegenerative diseases like Parkinson's and Alzheimer's for the rest of their life. They become hypersensitive to environmental toxins like pesticides and herbicides for the rest of their life. This has been shown repeatedly in the laboratory. Yet here we have a government policy because of payoff from big pharmaceutical companies and government agencies that are pushing this agenda. They're totally ignoring this research. And nobody's refuted it. Nobody's come back and said, well, that's not true, because it is true. It's very well accepted in the neuroscience literature. And these are the type of things that concerns me. The other thing that concerns me about
Dr. Blaylock, got a break. Long segment coming up. It won't interrupt you for 18 minutes when we return. Dr. Russell Blaylock is our guest. The website is russellblaylockmd.com. I'm Alex Jones with Infowars.com. We're going to get into other toxins in the environment and why are they doing it. Stay with us. By the way, folks, I named a radio talk show host in Austin who took the seasonal, got Guillain-Barré for months, was getting numb all over. Thank God most of it's gone away. His toes are still numb. And the medical doctors in Austin told him it was the vaccine. Now, this is in the inserts. And they put out these fake fact sheets at the pharmacies and at the colleges and government buildings saying there's no mercury, can't cause neurological disorders. But then you get the actual insert, which we have up on screen. And we're going to be going over that with Dr. Blaylock. Now, that's what's so frustrating about this, because there were big mainstream articles I read attacking Dr. Blaylock and others when he was simply trying to save lives. I mean, he's a multi-degreed, top doctor, somebody who's researched all this. He's got all the peer-reviewed mainline studies. As he said, this is not secret. They know what they're doing, and I'll ask him why. We're going back to him here in just a moment. Before we do that, I want to encourage listeners to support this radio broadcast. That means supporting our local sponsors on AM and FM. That means spreading the word about, say, the free iPhone app, and giving us 5-star rating. Be sure and rate it when you get it. Listen to the show whenever you want, however you want. You have friends and family that have iPhones or iPads. Send them the link. It works on the iPad to our iPhone app. It has archives of the show, live stream, the restreams, the free iPhone app, big banners at Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com, or you can find it on the Listen tab page. So expanding on that front. And we also have produced 2 new films that we released in April. Normally I release one film at a time, but these 2 films and their production schedule both got behind. We spent a year and a half on Invisible Empire, a year on Police State 4, The Rise of FEMA. They expose this entire agenda, why they're doing it. It wakes people up so they understand. And your purchase of the high-quality DVDs also supports this radio broadcast. So please get Invisible Empire, New Order Defined, now shipping, now available, and Police State 4, The Rise of FEMA, now shipping, now available, getting rave reviews. I want to thank folks out there for their support with the film. Or you can download all my films, the live TV show, the radio show, podcast, and higher quality by becoming a PrisonPlanet.tv member. It's 15 cents a day, $5.95 a month. Again, PrisonPlanet.tv. You can also call toll-free to get the books and videos and materials that we have on the website, 888-253-3139, 888-253-3139. And we've also added 4 new books to the catalog yesterday. The Secret Team by Fletcher Prouty, Jesse Ventura's Don't Start the Revolution Without Me, and several other books. And for a limited time, because when Terror Storm runs out, the price will go back up and I've got to reprint. The premiere film, Terror Storm, A History of Government-Sponsored Terror, is free with the books right now. Free. One of my top films, free. That's how important it is this film get out to everybody. So that new special is up there on the website. We couldn't do this without your financial support, so I want to thank you. Speaking of support, be sure and support Dr. Russell Blaylock. He has several websites, but what's the best website, doctor, for people to visit?
Go to www.blaylockWellnessCenter.com. BLAYLOCK wellnesscenter.com.
That's BlaylockWellnessCenter.com. Okay, so I was ranting there about the fact that they know. I mean, on the insert that really came with the H1N1 and the seasonal, it says can cause neurological disorder, Guillain-Barré, can reduce fertility, can cause cancer. And we've shown that over and over again. And I believe, and I want you to talk about this, that not only do we have a record low flu season worldwide, both seasonal and H1N1, but the Wall Street Journal had to admit a month ago, and we covered this several times here on air, if anybody wants to pull it up, that it was record low for people taking vaccines. And now Canadian studies show, they have 4 different studies. I'm sure you've seen them, but it's in mainstream news, even MSNBC, that that people that had taken the seasonal flu shot were upwards of 4 times more likely to contract and actually have a problem with the H1N1. So can you speak to that and what's in these vaccines?
Yeah, that Canadian study came out right in the middle of all of this when they were still screaming that you need to get the vaccine. The Canadian study showed that if you took the vaccine, it at least doubled your risk of contracting H1N1. An Indian study out of India found the same thing. Yet it had no impact on the U.S. policy. It did the Canadian policy. A lot of my material was going to a friend of mine in the